One of the first, and tragically only, native plants kids are taught about in school has a rather unflattering name, but it's quite literally a textbook example on the importance and significance of ecology and the understanding of sympatric species. Asclepias syriaca, the common milkweed, is often used as a model organism in classrooms. This is because it and other species of Asclepias, better known as milkweeds, are the host genus for the endangered monarch butterfly, Danaus plexippus. An icon of North America, this beautiful insect is just one example of an organism that is completely reliant on milkweed to complete its life cycle. The interactions between insects and milkweed are hardly unique either. All around us, insects, mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, plants, and all other forms of life form a nearly infinite web of connections to each other. While some are generalists, able to select between a few different symbionts, many organisms are reliant on a single genus, or even single species to survive. A complex web indeed, but also something akin to a Jenga tower. Pull out the wrong block, or eradicate the wrong species, and the entire thing crashes down. While we could go on all day about ecology and the so-called web of life, let's get a bit more intimate with Asclepias syriaca. Asclepias syriaca is native to essentially all of the eastern United States and southeastern Canada, absent only from the southeasternmost corner of the US, such as Florida. Its range extends about as far west as the 100th meridian, the point at which the US shifts from the wet and humid east coast to the drier west coast, but can be found disjunct in mesic habitats as far west as the Colorado Rockies. Unfortunately, it has also become an invasive species in regions of Europe and Asia, where the genus is not widely distributed. Asclepias syriaca favors mesic, open habitats, but is extremely tolerant of a variety of conditions. In the east, it tends to favor man-made disturbance and sandy glades, barrens, and fields with little to no shade. It can also be found around wetland margins and swamps. Absent from much of the Appalachian uplands, it is not surprising to find it popping up along roadsides or even along city sidewalks. As one moves west towards the prairies, it becomes a much more common component of the landscape. As mentioned before, Asclepias syriaca grows in a wide variety of habitats. Here it is growing around the margins of a disused cranberry bog. Alongside it are species of rose, Rosa carolina, grape, some species of vitis, a native nightshade, Solanum caroliniense, a species of rumex, one of the buckwheats, and a common companion of milkweeds in the Midwestern prairies, and of course, Toxicodendron radicans, eastern poison ivy. Many species of aster grow here as well, especially notable being the quote, Joe Pye weed, a species in the genus Eutrochium and another very important quote, weed of the region, as well as ever-abundant species of solidago, or goldenrod, and Symphyotrichum, American asters. These species put on their show a bit later in the season, however. Milkweed and its companions mentioned earlier typically bloom in June here in New England. The vegetative morphology of Asclepias syriaca is relatively simple, but also unmistakable. Tall, erect stems with large, opposite glaucous leaves grow rapidly from the ground in spring. The chemistry of this vegetation is more fascinating than its appearance to many. A highly cardiotoxic latex readily leaks from the leaves and stems when punctured or broken, deterring the majority of species from consuming them. These toxins, however, are exactly what the monarch is after. Millions of years of evolution have selected for genes that have allowed monarchs to not only consume milkweed in spite of its toxic leaves, but store and concentrate those toxic compounds. The distinct, vibrant markings on monarchs and their caterpillars are a warning to any would-be predator. Eat me at your own risk. I'm toxic. The flower morphology of Asclepias species are, in contrast to the leaves, incredibly fascinating and complex, with a pollination syndrome so complex it rivals some species of orchid. There's actually a surprising amount of similarities between the two, despite a lack of relation between them. Both employ the use of pollinia, aggregated sacs of pollen with the sticky mass attached. To pollinate an Asclepias flower, an insect must pass its foot through a narrow stigmatic slit, through which the receptive stigma can be accessed. As it withdraws its foot, it carries with it the corpusculum, the sticky portion of the pollinia, the pollen sac we mentioned before. Ideally, the pollen sac will be carried to a neighboring plant. Pollinia are a highly efficient way to ensure that a large number of pollen granules are exchanged from plant to plant, a key to successful reproduction and healthy genetic variation. Aside from this interesting pollination technique, milkweed flowers have a few other specialized features. The petals and sepals are a bit unremarkable on this species, reflex stedenthesis. Together, the fused male and female parts of the flower form something known as a gynostegium. Surrounding the gynostegium are two floral parts unique to milkweed, the horn and the hood. Both are modified portions of the anther filaments. The flowers are aggregated in a globe-like cluster known as an umbel. The fruits are also highly distinctive of the milkweed and dogbane family Apocynaceae, but not entirely unique to milkweeds. They can be found on many other plants in the family, which we will discuss in just a moment. The fruits, known as follicles, contain many flat seeds with pappus attached, which aids in wind dispersal. As we just mentioned, Asclepias is a genus in the family Apocynaceae. Known more broadly as the dogbane family, this is a reference to the number of highly toxic plants found within the family. Specifically, milkweeds are in the Asclepiadoideae subfamily, formerly treated as a separate family, Asclepiadaceae. The family contains a number of popular ornamental plants such as plumeria, hoya, stapelia, and even a common invasive weed here in New England, Vinca minor, more commonly known as periwinkle. To the south, the native diversity in the family expands tremendously, but in New England and much of the Northeast, we are limited to other native species of Asclepias, such as Asclepias incarnata, the swamp milkweed, and Asclepias quadrifolia, the locally endangered four-leaved milkweed, among several others. Two species of Opossum, or dogbane, are also native relatives of Asclepias syriaca: Opossum cannabinum, hemp dogbane, and Opossum androsamifolium, spreading dogbane. While not exactly a hotspot of diversity for the family, all native species of Asclepias and Opossum offer many benefits to the ecosystems of the Northeast. Asclepias syriaca is appreciated ornamentally to the open-minded, but its biggest use to humans is as a draw for wildlife. Anyone who enjoys birding or bug spotting should invest in plantings of Asclepias syriaca. It's the host plant for one of the most beautiful and treasured native insects we have, and can be grown remarkably easy from seed. An absolute juggernaut in the native plant community, they are not hard to find at all in native nurseries, and can even be grown in pots on an apartment patio. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you clicked on it, I'm guessing you already had some appreciation for this fascinating and ecologically irreplaceable plant. If not, I hope you've grown fond of it in the few minutes it took to watch this video. In June, seek it out. It's probably growing very close by if you live in or close to the US Midwest or Northeast. And even if not, you almost certainly have a different native milkweed species nearby. Pay attention to the sheer volume of insects that visit these plants. In a minute or two, you'll probably see dozens of visitors. Now compare this to a non-native ornamental plant. Note a difference? It makes all the difference. Thank you. I hope you're able to share and use this info next time you find yourself enjoying the outdoors, and I hope you come back and visit this channel again soon. Thank you.